Sitting next to him is a gentleman who's a walking encyclopedia of New Orleans sessions. He's been playing for quite a few years. He, at age 15 to 16, was doing A&R work, producing and arranging for such labels as Rick, Ron, Ace, Rex. He cut such amazing guitar mingling instrumentals as Storm Warning. He also cut some great proto-garage records such as Ronnie and the Delinquents, Bad Neighborhood, also the classic Morgus the Magnificent, Jerry Burns' Lights Out he wrote. Through the years, he went out to LA and developed a whole nother thing as Dr. John, but he's back here to help moderate this panel to do. Let's hear it from Mr. Malk Rebennack. It was Dr. John.
This man here, I've been knowing him for a long time. I admit that. And yeah, you know, because you're giving me hell all the time. It's like, hello. I said, hello, this is Mac. And then he goes on and on talking. He just got through talking bad about me about half an hour ago. I was trying to find out where he was. And he called me some nice names. But if he doesn't talk to me like that, I think he stopped liking me, you know. But you would never find another one like this. When they made him, they threw away all the moles. You know, I mean, talent-wise, personality-wise, and he has a memory. When we hang out, we make it a priority to hang out some. When we hang out, and he brings back things like happened 50 years ago. I said, how can you remember these things? He said, because I got a good mind. I think he lost his mind some years ago. But anyway, he's one of the if you can't take the truth, don't talk to Mac Rebennack or Bob French, because I'll tell you like it is. And I got that from him. If you can't tell the truth, keep your damn mouth shut. Okay? And it's an honor to be his friend. And we try to talk almost every day, but sometimes he avoids me, let the machine catch it, and he'll call me back when he feels like talking. But since he's a star, I'll let him do that, okay?
That's what I love about Doc. He's just a nice man. And please believe me, he's one of the honest musicians in the world, not New Orleans, in the world. Because he do not, if something is wrong, he will let you know. And man, with the kind of language that he used, and I don't mean vulgarity, I'm talking about when he talk about this and he talk about that, half of the time I need a dictionary, a New Orleans dictionary at that, to get what he mean about that, man. But I love you all, I really do. Please do that.
You know, there's a lot of session Wardell did that wasn't hit records. That was my favorite sessions he ever did. There was some sessions with Danny White, even though some of them sold some records. But there's a lot of records that he did that because it was with a label that was kind of lame. Didn't know how to promote it, or a small label that just couldn't compete with the big companies and all of that. And I look at some of the stuff that happened back in the game where there was a thing and it was like big companies somewhere else either bought masters from here, like I'm looking at Willie T. Well, Wardell did Teasing You for Willie. But there's a lot of records. Atlantic Records bought that record. It wasn't did for Atlantic Records. But there's always been that kind of side to the story. But there's also the sad side to that story, which is a lot of artists, like when you did that Loan Me Your Handkerchief and the other song with Danny White.
Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye.
Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye. I'll read some. Man, those were classic sessions of a New Orleans brand that had they been with somebody good, could have been big national record. But every now and then, because at some point when he was doing this stuff with Malaco Records, that like around the time King Floyd and all of that, he did the Jackie Moore record, Misty Blue.
Yeah.
And those were records that were classics of what later a lot of other arrangers was copying that style of arranging, and it was like we always got clipped out the real money on somebody else. It's like the companies would come in here when somebody had a hit, and they cut a lot of stuff. And very few of the people knew what they was doing. They want a record to sound like the one that was a hit. You don't hire Wardell Quezergue to do something like something. He's gonna write what he's gonna write, and it's gonna be the right thing. This is the difference where people that don't understand what they're dealing with and who they're dealing with should let what Bob French said a little while ago. You got to let the people do what they do, or they ain't gonna get a chance to do it. And I could say there was so many sessions like that.
Yeah.
There was people, Wardell probably be living on the life side of the rich and the wealthy right now, had he got the money for stuff that he wrote. Do you know how many arrangements that Wardell got shorted on the money for even writing the arrangements?
I remember that much.
Good. I'm very grateful to hear you say that, Wardell.
None.
Go ahead.
A song, anyway.
But it's like, listen, listen, I'm not talking about all of them, but I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that as a music community, New Orleans never had anybody to represent us as a music business lawyer. Even to the people that made money here, got stiffed out of a lot of money. The lace went left. The money was funny. The change was strange. Everything was wrong here because there was nobody to represent anybody.
Right.
And it's been like a tradition that it's like politics here. All of this stuff ain't cool. We gotta stick to what we can do. And what the musicians do, we play music. And if we don't do that, what are we on the planet for?
All those great places to play back in those days. When you were leaving home, you said, "Well, I hope I see my home again." Back home, I could tell you some stories. So can he, because I think he has a record in New Orleans for the most arrests. Back in the days when he was going places he wasn't supposed to go, like the Dewdrop. How many weekends you went to jail?
I didn't count them.
He'd get arrested every weekend at the Dewdrop, and then after a while, they didn't even have to ask, just get in the car. They knew it, they'd write it up, they had everything. But he wanted to hang out with the New Orleans musicians. And the New Orleans musicians he wanted to hang out with all were around in and out of the Dewdrop. You know, and so he was taught by, and we're gonna talk about the drummers, Mo. He was taught by a guy who came from a musical family. His name was what? They called him Papoose. What was his real name?
Walter Papoose Nelson, yeah.
What was his last name?
Nelson.
Nelson. And from that family, there's a bunch of musicians that are playing now that came from that family. Little guy by the name of Trombone Shorty, his brother James Andrew. I mean, they all were musicians. There were some more, but anyway, he was taught by this man. He was coming in the hood before it was popular to come into the hood, you know. And they said, he knocked on the door to go get a lesson one day. I know this because he told me, and I know it's the truth. And Papoose' sister answered the door. He said, "What you doing there, white boy?" You know, this is way back in the game. And Papoose heard him and said, "Who you talking to?" Say, "This white boy out there at the door. He's coming to get a lesson." Say, "Let him in." Say, "That's Mac. He's all right." So she knew who he was, and he would go and practice, and I'm not gonna tell him the other stuff, but got some stuff y'all don't want to hear about. But anyway, he learned how to play between Papoose and the devil.
Don't call it the devil, right?
That was his nickname. Isn't that what y'all called him?
Not me. I called him Beak.
Beak.
Roy Montrell.
Roy Montrell. The cats in the band, he played with Fats until he died. Matter of fact, he died across the water when he was with Fats. But Roy was one of a kind, but he was a heck of a guitar player. So was Papoose. But he learned from people like that. And he was not afraid to go in the hood back in them days, where there were a lot of people, they wouldn't have got anywhere near the hood. They'd step on the gas and drive 80 miles an hour and 35 miles an hour. Nobody wasn't going to do them anything. But anyway, talking about him as a person, he always hung with us. And we still hanging together, but the drummers.
You know, the best time of my life was working with Smokey and your brother with Wardell. I can remember do the gig with Wardell somewhere, whether it was a session or just a gig with the Raw Dukes. That run over, and your brother was playing with Willie T's band after the gig over on St. Bernard. I go catch them and give you an idea how much influence that the drummers was having. There was a little drummer used to play with Willie T at that time on St. Bernard, way back then. And when it was, I don't even think it was Willie T and the Gators. Whatever they was at the time, the little drummer was playing with Bearcat. But I can't ever think of this kid's name, but.
Who?
No, it's before him. I can't think right now, but the cat, they were playing music that later became called fusion jazz, except it wasn't. It was like they'd play a song and they'd play it funky, and then they'd play it a little out jazz, and then they'd play it. They took music to a level of that something else happened. But it was like, we always was like, look, I mean, my heart was saying, well, hey, this is something fresh. And all the Cannonball Adderley's band was hanging around that. And they was, be quite frank, they was ripping Willie off.
They were stealing.
Well, that's what I call ripping somebody off. Listen, whether you want to call it boosting or whatever name you want to call it, there's a lot of nice words for that. But I remember because I was getting ready to be shipped out of New Orleans, but working with Wardell, that was like so special. It was like when y'all play some of the Duke Ellington tunes, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was like bringing it to ILA with you and then go do a session and all of that. That was my heart. And then we get through with it, whatever we was doing, go over to Willie's gig, and it was like, it was something special and spiritual of the way you could hear two completely different kind of music to you that was related. And it was a lot to do with you, Wardell. Your arrangements inspired stuff with Willie. Your arrangements inspired stuff with all of us. I know I tried to rip you off for stuff. I just wasn't an arranger. That's why that's a fact of the matter, because all musicians take stuff from each other. We can't help that.
Gotta do that.
And when you're starting off, at least, that's about all you could do. But when you get to a point, you better figure out what you're gonna do, and don't enroll with something.